Bears fans, tape grinders, and those of you who truly understand that championships aren't just built in the first round of the draft or with blockbuster free agent signings, gather round, because today we're not just talking about the obvious names, the Caleb Williamses and Rome Odunzes and Montez Sweats of the world. We're diving deep into the hidden, overlooked back-end roster moves that are quietly shaping what might become one of the most complete rosters Chicago has assembled in a decade. And yes, I said that with my chest, because if you've been watching what GM Ryan Poles and head coach Ben Johnson are doing, not just at the top of the depth chart, but on special teams, in the sixth receiver spot, in coverage units, in the third-string defensive line rotation, and in those tiny details where games are won or lost, you start to realize this isn't just some feel-good rebuild. It's a restructuring of team DNA, and the clearest, most fascinating proof of that came in the form of two undrafted rookie free agents that nobody in the national media is talking about, but who may just play a role in turning this team from interesting to dangerous. J.D. Walker out of Texas A&M and J.P. Richardson out of TCU, two players with eerily similar physical profiles, different on-field identities, but overlapping competitive fire that make them perfectly molded for Richard Hightower's special teams unit and potentially more. And I'm telling you, the deeper you look, the more you realize these weren't just camp bodies or low-risk flyers. They were strategic pickups made with precise intent, designed to bolster roster flexibility, plug coverage weaknesses, and give the coaching staff true developmental pieces with actual upside. And this is where we start with J.D. Walker, because when I first saw the Bears sign this kid, I thought, oh, this is one of those pickups, the how did this guy not get drafted types. And sure enough, once you peel back the layers, you realize Walker's trajectory is less about missed talent and more about context, because in 2023 at Texas A&M, the man was a problem. 35 receptions for 590 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an eye-popping 16.9 yards per catch in the rugged SEC, which doesn't just give up explosive plays for fun. And when you look at the tape, what you see isn't just a big-body guy going up and winning jump balls, though he can do that. You see a player who thrives on contact, eats cushion against off-coverage corners, and gets upfield with balance and intent after the catch, which is rare for someone built like him. And let's break that down for a second. J.D. Walker stands 6'2", weighs 199 pounds, runs a 4.45 40-yard dash, and verticals at 34.5 inches. But those are just surface-level traits. What matters even more is how they translate, and in his case, they translate into a receiver who can play above the rim while also exploding off the break on slants, digs, and outs, with a surprisingly fluid release package. And don't even get me started on his 6.71 three-cone time. That's not just good, that's elite, and it's the kind of number you usually see from twitchy slot receivers under 6 feet, not boundary guys who weigh 200 pounds. And this tells you something very specific. J.D. Walker isn't just tall and fast. He's agile, and that means he can separate. Not just stack corners vertically, but actually win on routes, especially in man coverage. And when you combine that with his willingness to work the middle of the field and ability to stay on his feet through contact, you get a complete developmental profile that screams value. But then you fast forward to 2024, and suddenly the stat line isn't as sexy. 29 receptions, 345 yards, 2 touchdowns, and now people are out here asking, what happened? But that's where the lazy analysis ends and the real scouting begins. Because what actually happened was, he became a focal point of opposing defenses, drew double teams, got bracketed, and had to work with inconsistent quarterback play in a turbulent offensive environment, and yet still managed to put up a respectable 11.9 yards per catch and draw NFL interest postseason, which brings us to his pro day, where everything changed, because that's where he reminded scouts what he really was. An explosive, confident, self-aware athlete who told teams straight up, I'm J.D. Walker, I play wide receiver and special teams. And if you're not smiling at that quote, you're missing the point, because that one sentence reflects the entire ethos of what the Bears are building right now. Versatility, humility, hunger, and edge, and it's not just that he's willing to play special teams, it's that he wants to. He knows it's his path to making the roster, and even better, he believes he can impact it. And when he said he knew it was only a matter of time before he blocked a punt, you could feel that wasn't just confidence, it was obsession. And for Richard Hightower, that's music to his ears. Because building a great special teams unit isn't about finding speedsters or freak athletes. It's about finding committed role players who understand that flipping field position, making tackles inside the 20, or forcing a muffed punt can change games just as much as a touchdown. And now, let's shift gears to J.P. Richardson. Because while JD is your prototypical outside receiver with YAC juice and big game grit, JP is your fluid return threat and possession-style wideout who can operate in space and bring a leadership presence into a young locker room. And if you think that's just fluff, consider this. Richardson was the guy TCU trusted with punt return duties down the stretch of 2024, and in 23 returns, he posted 252 yards and 1 return touchdown with an 11-yard average that was consistent, clean, and aggressive. And that type of reliability is exactly what you want from a special teamer trying to carve out a niche. Now let's look at his profile. 6'2", 199 pounds, just like JD, 453 speed, 34.5-inch vertical, similar RAS traits, and a similar willingness to get his hands dirty in the return game, coverage game, and gunner duties. But again, it's the intangibles that elevate him beyond just a camp body. Because J.P. Richardson has that steady leader vibe you want from a depth player, the kind of guy who sets the tone in meetings, works after practice, and holds others accountable by example. And I don't say that lightly, because when he talks about showing up the same every day, bringing good energy, being vocal when needed but never fake, you can tell this dude's been in real football environments and understands what it takes to earn reps in a competitive room. And if you think that doesn't matter, think again. Because NFL locker rooms don't just thrive on stars, they thrive on glue guys, and J.P. Richardson is exactly that. And now let's bring it all together, because when you place these two players side by side, what you see is more than just a pair of receivers. You see a strategic deployment of assets by a front office that's filling very specific needs. Size in the wide receiver room. Behind Odunze, there's no true 6.2-plus body with legit burst. Special teams depth at a time when Chicago is losing return options and looking for consistent gunners and practice competitors who will make the entire team sharper. And when you factor in the current WR depth chart, Moore, Odunze, Allen, Tyler Scott, Velus Jones Jr., and Equanimous St. Brown, it's clear that WR5 and WR6 are up